Shirley here with Jupiter point of Thales, and this is Saturn hour, so I'm going to call on Deneb Algedi, and I'm going to call on Procyon and Spica, as um, this is one of those episodes that are energy readings. I gave a very similar energy reading when I was in a previous state, and so this one, and the moon is right now 13 degrees Pisces, um, slowly beginning to apply to conjunct Saturn, and to, yes, and with the ascendant, 22 degrees is basically squaring Mars and opposing Chiron, and so it's a lethal degree. So for those of you that energy is applying, it can be bringing up a wound around assassination and assassination prevention. Yes, 22nd degree of to kill and to be killed. Again, calling on Procyon, calling on Deneb Algedi to deliver the message correctly. Saturn's hour is an hour where sometimes people would use to basically to curse somebody, okay, or to cause death. Um, it doesn't necessarily, okay, um, like when I would release that episode, of course, in a different hour, but you will find out that if that energy is yours, I'm not here to scare anybody. So disclaimer, if you just stumbled upon this reading and those topics doesn't seem to resonate, pay attention. If you felt like there was an attempt to get at your physical energy, to get you to physically fall down, okay? And so if that is the case, then do keep watching. If this is not the case and it resonates, keep watching. If this doesn't resonate and you never didn't feel something weird in the energy, then just let it slide by. This is not for you, and you know, like it's not for everyone. And I'm not here to fear monger. I'm here to talk to whomever it is relevant to. And so, if that is relevant to you, then perhaps you can recall that that topic came up perhaps a couple of months ago, perhaps even almost a year ago. And you may identify the energy, and there is somebody in your energy. And when I say somebody, this can even mean, I know I tend to a lot about, topics of a lot of things that are done to people, okay, whether psychological campaigns, psychological warfare, spiritual warfare, and so on. And so when I say that person, it may be that they have great sides to them, the great phases to them, and when they get to a phase, then that is what they do, or they are a lot of time in this energy. Okay, so this is not blaming or casting blame or anyone, but it's definitely something you need to defend yourself from. And so you may have felt that there's somebody in your energy that is really trying to, very simply put, take you down. And this is 22nd degree, okay? They are trying to assassinate you, okay? And the reason I'm saying that is not to fearmonger, because I'm probably not telling you anything new. Somebody is trying to take you down. You might even, if you are in your dream state, or if you have, channeling, if you're doing channeling or readings, somebody literally tries to cast death magic upon you. And you may have addressed that in the past, because that's been ongoing for most of you. And so there's a difference where you defend yourself and you say, for the person who's trying to assassinate me, that they will die, known and unknown. You defend yourself from assassination. And there's a huge difference between that and um, and the person actually actively trying to take you down. Okay, a giant difference would be that, for example, when you're not threatened by somebody, okay, then even if you said, well, let them die if they try to kill me, you just go on with your life. And if this is you, you are going on with your life, okay? The minute you feel like the threat has been removed, you are going on with your life. You're not going to be looking for this person. You're going to set your boundary and set it very straight, okay? Kind of like you're not going to see the light of day if you touch Poland, okay? Who much? We're Marute fans. Anyway, um, but this is exactly the type of energy, okay? Somebody threatens you, so like, you're not going to see the light of day if you even dare to, or if you feel helpless about it and you don't have, like, I don't know, Bank of the Vatican backing up your ammunition, then like I said, don't complain about me jabbing, you started. But the thing is, um, that if you feel like helpless in a situation, you might call upon, I don't know, Archangel Michael or whatever, or you just, say, cast a spell, like, get back to sender. But then you just go about your life. And that's the difference. Now, without judging or blaming, people go through hell in this world, and we're not getting into that. Unless you want, if you want to, then you can listen to Trudy Verstegen, Lars, Anneke Lucas, and Satanic Ritual Abuse Survivors, and understand that the children nobody came to save are the people that some of them are visible, but some of them are not. And they have a ton of baggage, okay? And they're right to have that ton of baggage. And when it comes to those, if you are targeted in some way by one of those beings, then you have every right to set a very fierce boundary and to go about your life. Because most of you are tending to those topics, if that meets you. And so you may find that somebody's kind of like way too freaking invested in literally trying to take you down, and that can be trying to physically get you to fall, trying to get you to be seen in a certain way, um, or to challenge your passing through, okay, or to mess with your documents, or to make it inaccessible for you to have, or for you to be bothered, to try to get your reaction, and all those things. And we're only human. Grey Rock is fantastic, but it's kind of like they're way too invested into that dumbfuckery. Um, and so this is an energy that you can feel that that they are bringing themselves into situations that they are bringing themselves into, okay, when they are that invested in trying to cast you into something or cast something over you. What happens is that they are basically driving themselves into situations, um, that's for them to address, okay. And so for many of you, you have been dealing with that, and and it's the fact that you either take your power back, or that you go about your life, or that you address it in a way that is of, I won't say position of power, but in a way that is grounded and centered. And that can really unnerve for those energies that really, really wanted something, you know, something else out of the situation. And basically what they're doing is they're taking themselves down. For every single thing that they would try to put on you, Basically the science is changing, and if they practice something that is not the truth, it tends to be a loophole, like an Ouroboros, okay, the snake that eats its own tail, which symbolizes, it's a secret society symbol, but it's also a symbol of they are kind of eating their own tail when they're trying to get at you. And this is something that, for many of them, what they have to deal with is indeed very challenging, and it's got nothing to do with you. Okay? It's got absolutely nothing to do with you. Um, and and also it's not their fault that they're going through this. Okay? Uh, and you have the right to defend yourself. So this chart is giving something that's absolutely lethal. Somebody who's absolutely having slaughterous or murderous thoughts or actions, because Mars is actions, but they could run into such situation where the ones they set to assassin you are basically assassinating them. And so that is the meaning of the snake that is eating its own tail. So this is, if that energy meets you, I want you to remember that um, those attempts to take you down, or those attempts to get you to not show yourself, or to not see yourself, or to not reach out, or to not have a reach, that those things, it's kind of working in a certain way where every time they try to take you down, you just rise higher, more eloquent, with better connection, especially to yourself. You get things that are actually better for you, even more so. It's kind of like you can go through that path just growing, and then whatever that energy is invested in is kind of bringing you a quantum leap. And so you don't need that energy to go against you. But that energy that's going against you is a sign that you've crossed a certain threshold that they find it challenging to deal with. And to be very honest, that threshold you are crossing is in their favor. It's not, you're not necessarily, you're not acting against their favor. And they might even see that. To address this, many people have been programmed with a child assassin, kind of like a good Alice, bad Alice. Okay, child assassin and bad. Okay, for good person, they got bad person, and they flip between that. It's a trauma response to intense abuse and ritual abuse. And so, but that person perhaps can even have an issue of being reliant on you seeing that and being unable to handle your light because they are used to reality where everything that is in the light is getting taken down, getting assassinated, including within themselves. So even if you evoke certain feelings or even emotions within them, they treat you like they treat themselves. That's the thing. And it's an internal relational transmutation that is also structural. And because we should not underestimate the weight of the structure that is collapsing, This, if you ask yourself why, this is why. And that's why also for you, it may feel like every time I try to rise up, there's something that is changing. There's something that, um, okay, is frictional, but is so overwhelming. Okay, there is what people call is a threshold. Let's say you gain certification in something. Okay, and now you've moved from student to colleague. And so people get a little bit um, shaken from that, um, and so everybody has their own issue with that. There's a new player in town, okay, but you're also not necessarily all that new player. I get, um, and each person brings in something new. Also, because this is something that is that has lethality to that. Some of you are doing true crime. I'm not saying everyone, but this definitely is degree where, or some of you are doing even military. For some of you, you might even taken a job like in military job, and you're doing so fucking good that people are like, wait, what's going on? Why is this person not taken down yet? Um, and they try to take you down and this and that to try to literally physically make you fall. And what's happening instead is you climb up the stairs, like you climb up the stairs and you're bigger and better now. And so it's kind of like their fear of your success is manifesting, but in it there's kind of like they are success, like they can be successful too. They are successful too, but they only see themselves as successful when they're taking down somebody. Now this has to do with the 22nd degree and how to utilize the 22nd degree correctly. Well, and Mars is indeed squaring Chiron, which is degree of assassination, um, murder, to kill and be killed. And so what you stir up in some people, they may try to take you down because they fear you might kill them, which is in more cases than not absolutely not true. But because they grew up in an environment where that's the case. People who grew up to ritual abuse, is most of decision makers today, if not visible, then definitely invisible, that grew up into situations that since childhood they saw everybody get slaughtered. They had to slaughter. They had to sustain people trying to slaughter them, and that was the atmosphere. So there's a new player in town, so now they have to worry about this. So they try to how do I get to this person to take them down so that they wouldn't slaughter me. And especially if you're tending to true crime, if you're a military person, they might be concerned that that's the case, where very likely if you're the one getting that reading for yourself and you're not the one invested, in other people's death, then very likely you're not at all on that wavelength, and you might even be coming to change that culture. That being said, when that person try to take you down, it's kind of, I don't want to say fulfilled prophecy because it's such a superficial term for what is actually going on there, but they're creating certain situations where they have to be really cautious about not being taken down by their own trying to take you down. And they're trying to bring you into those situations because that's basically what they learned, but perhaps shedding light on that very mechanism can open a gap between what is programmed and was conscious for the program to rise into consciousness, and then there is leverage, space to change for what is the program. It is also important to understand that if you're a carrier of the 22, okay, it's kind of like a carrier of arms, okay, you came with that to the world. If it is in your chart or your relative's chart, and also you bring that. Now, the people that you meet along the way, they you usually have for those degrees, if not in the planets, they may have it in the asteroids, may have it, or Vesta, which is, Vesta is asteroid of what we dedicate our life to, so it might be even to military work, or to kill the right people, or to tend to cold cases, and stuff like that. And so it's about getting to know your own 22. And here, Mars square Chiron, you meet it with the friction. You meet the fact that your bloodline meant to do this, okay? And then there is a lethality, okay? Your bloodline is meant to do something with to kill or be killed. What the heck does that mean? How do you utilize that energy? That can get people into survivalistic mode in itself. However, that can mean you might tend to cold cases. That can mean you might uncover certain realities and certain programming underneath that 22nd degree that calls people to do these things, and untangle that. Or you might divert for the 22nd degree to military work, okay? Kill for the right only when it's right, and for not more, and effectively. Um, and so it's about both you and that energy that's invested in trying to take you down, that are going through the process of what's that 22 in my life. And so it's basically about doing your Mars, even if it's not Mars, about doing your Mars, because Mars is about the I am, it's the doing me, it's the fending for yourself, it's the setting boundary. It's that, you won't see the light of day if you touch, okay, so and so. And there is an atmosphere right now, okay? We are about to have an eclipse in Aries with Mars squaring Chiron. So there's an atmosphere of us learning to set lethal boundaries, when to set them, how much to set them, and how to set them correctly. This might be an issue you may have been dealing with since childhood. So if that energy is you, that is very likely, and you want to be cautious if that is Saturn, okay? If the 22nd is Saturn, because in Saturn you might be subjected to and creating or perpetuating structures that are lethal. Now, Saturn 22 in a good aspect to Neptune can be assisted death for the terminally ill. Okay, so that is okay, because if you give, if you provide, if you care giving, Saturn right now in Pisces, you care give by providing a good passage, then that might mean you are basically killing, right? But so that the person will cross over, and to reduce suffering, okay, to clear the passage. So there are all these ways in which the 22nd can actually work out. And so there's also a certain culture where there was intended maluse of those properties. the upcoming eclipse is touching on a wound of assassination, and so Chiron has been in the 22nd degree. It's going back there now, and the solar eclipse in Aries is partial, but it's also going to offer new perspective. I'm not saying that there are not going to be casualties in that sense, but definitely those that have been trying to manifest your death, which taken such massive action of manifestation, um, if you are the person I'm talking to, they're just, you know, wrong direction. Okay, it's not their fault. They grew into that, but that would be kind of like a good time to address that and change. And that can also that almost always has to do with a wound around for those cases. So this was Saturn hour. There can also be an issue of where there's the question of the defense, and I'd like to address the Deneb Algadi, because Deneb Algadi has the inscription of Deneb Algadi has an X and what looks like a key. This is kind of like blocking the access to something from those who are not meant to have the key. So you have to have the right key. And so with Deneb Algadi, there's this question of the right key. Every person has their own set of keys, and if you weren't given the right key, then Deneb Algadi will retrieve your key. If somebody tried to access something that they weren't supposed to have the key of, and let me set this straight. You can have a key that's lying dormant, okay? It's not yours. Maybe you rented the flat, okay? And you were given, if you rent from somebody who rents a couple of apartments, and you're the tenant, okay, you were given a couple of keys, or you're given certain keys, and one of the keys is not of your apartment, and you never kind of had the time to tend to that, but you never did anything with that key, or it's just kind of like, well, that key is lying dormant, okay? As long as you don't do something with that key that would be malefic, okay? Let's say to murder your neighbors, okay? That is not an issue that I'm talking about with the key here. For example, somebody was not supposed to have your apartment keys, or like in my case, they took the key from somebody who has the key, which would only be that person I rented the apartment from, and then they entered and slaughtered the cat in the bedroom, leaving a heart from the shape from his blood. That cat was named after a main political figure, but it was not named after a main political figure. I named him a certain way, and it was a nickname of a certain person. I'm not going to say it, but that was completely dumbfounding to me, because I didn't even understand where they're trying to make a certain ritual to target that person, that political figure, and I did not know. I first named the cat a certain way, and then I would find that out. But it was one of the people I was tending to assassination prevention cases, and so you can see how that key plays out, where it's like they weren't supposed to have that key. Then Al-Ghedi sets the record straight with the keys. That if you don't have the key, or you're not supposed to have the key, or even if you do have a key you're not supposed to have, your access is blocked to what Deneb Al-Ghedi now protects. And so that there's somebody who's desperately trying to get a key they're not supposed to have, or to use a key they have and they're not supposed to use, and they are causing themselves harm. If this is your life, then you already know what that deal is. Very likely, like me, you don't know everything. But the fact is that you are a newcomer, and you want to think about it like a newcomer, you have your own set of keys. And some people are trying to use those keys or take those keys, and their access is blocked. And sometimes you get your access blocked to something you're supposed to have the key to. You want to think about shadow banning social media, for example. Now, the thing is, as long as that figure or those beings were fumbling with your keys, with fumbling with trying to get your keys, with fumbling with the key or inscription or encryption of your stuff, it's like the snake that eating its own tail. They're exposing themselves. The more they try to put it on you or blame it on you or make you look at the the more you have to, the more, first of all, you discover what's going on, but the more you have to explain what is going on. That means the story comes out, and now they are, I'm sorry, the one who got caught with their keys trying to fumble into somebody's bedroom and slaughter their cat. It's on Starlink. I mean, Starlink can see who enters with those keys. Okay, they can wear gloves for all over the world. They can wear gloves. Somewhere they took their gloves off. Starlink knows who entered, when did they enter, where did they enter, and at what address did they take the glove off, at where they went to later. Okay, they know it all. That's also how they targeted you. So if they use the Starlink to target you, Starlink knows how to who is that person, which would also become in, like, en masse, that Starlink will have to tend to these cases, because there are going to be a lot of people fumbling with keys, and that might cause a problem for those who develop Starlink. And this is exactly how these things work. KSN is approaching Lilith now, and again, if that is you, I'm going to publish this one on YouTube so I can go overboard. And if that is you, and this message meets you, then you've already been there. And it can be that those figures are trying to use the retrogrades or the direct motions of certain planets, like a Chiron, to try to get to that key, to get to that. Is like the Holy Grail. I'm like, the Holy Grail is not about trying to take you down. And the more they are afraid that you will kill them, because they grew up in a certain world, first of all, the more they expose about that world, which is not a bad thing, because you get to understand what they're afraid from, not to use it against them. but so that you can establish, okay, for diplomatic relations. So on a mundane level, we absolutely see it like that. JFK, and there's a lot of fear from JFK because JFK basically used a connection line from the Kremlin to the White House that avoided the Third World War. But those who are of interest that there would be a world war because they don't want their crimes to be discovered, they are afraid of the ones who hold the key to world peace by communication and diplomacy. It is setting fierce boundaries, but also being able to reach out for peace. Very likely, the name JFK is something that is not new to you if you are on that lineage. So that includes the family. But this can also mean if you are on the JFK line, and if you are, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Any one of you that met the JFK line, and some of you met it through other people, it is because you're a competent leader in time of war and in time of peace. And that makes you a person that can do upright. That doesn't, like, you're not necessarily, like, if something is not upright, you're not necessarily going to be, like, surprised and I don't know what to do with that, because you can tend to corruption, but you can definitely do it upright. You can do boundary setting and you can do diplomatic relationships, and you can tend to corruption when tending to corruption is needed. So that was the power of JFK. And JFK was not afraid of war, but he was also not rushing into a war. And if you are that person, there are intense attempts to get you to fall down, which only make you a more competent leader. And it could be to do with true crime, with military, with places where you do have to kill people or to face assassination threats. And then there are people who try to constantly like take you down, take you down, take you down. But the thing is, but they don't like seeing you happy. They don't like real energy. They don't like that you are shining and so on and so forth. Where there's something in their energy that they need to redirect towards for the upright. And again, doing the things 180 from what other people do is not the problem. But the issue is that they are threatened by what you're doing, with the way you shine. They're threatened by what you came here to do. But the more that they are threatened, they try to put you into survivalistic mode because they are in one. And what it causes is bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger troubles for them. And they try to, the more they try to put those troubles on you, basically, the more competent you get at what you're doing, because it's kind of like, hey, somebody tries to put you as the crazy person. So first of all, you don't understand what is happening. Then you learn about gaslighting. Then you learn about the MK Ultra. Then you learn about the housing first for people that curated the schizophrenia. Then you learn about the investment trap of the don't listen to the weather of the market. The market doesn't listen to your moods. And then where you learn about the SSRIs and the beta blocker scams. And and then you learn about the ritual abuse, and they're like, oh my God, you hear people say, oh, the maximum they would remember is like the incest or the pedophilia, and I'm like, what did I what? And so where you learn about why are they doing that? Oh, it works in a certain way that they try to get to the identity through the energy of the person. Okay, so they try to keep people in trauma so that they are more susceptible to mind control. Now you're able to explain that scientifically, and the more they try to take you down, it's kind of like for every you that they try to take down, 7 other grow. It's kind of like the JFKs have been, there was this episode, which is also, there is a series called Kuparashit, which is about the supermarket. And there was this client that everybody was annoyed with, okay? And had a good reason to be annoyed with that client. Their name was Amnon. And what they did was a scam. They made a scam to make the other supermarket have better pricing, so he moved it there. And then what happened? The entire supermarket was filled with Amnons. And it said the Amnons are multiplying. So the more they try to take you down, the JFKs are multiplying. So for every one of you that goes, 7 other grow suddenly. And for every argument that they try to put against you, okay, 7 other bad things that they did are exposed. For everything that you forgot by them trying to take you down, you see, I turn to the Deneb Algedy, okay? It has a shape of an X and a key, okay? And I completely forgot that they took what the key of the makler for the real estate agent. They were the only person that had that key. And to break into my house, gloves handed or something, and a murder at the cat. And I still don't know if they were trying to aim specifically for this cat, or because that cat happened to be in the name of someone I tended to their political assassination prevention. And that was a ritual, and I tended to that on X, which is Elon's platform, who is doing Starlink. With his Starlink, you can actually see, not only who is Martin, but who was the whatever that gloves-handedly took it from the makler. If was it the makler, was it the real estate? I don't know. But we would see where they put the gloves on and where they takes the gloves off on air. If they didn't try to make me fall, I would completely forget about the entire thing. Because I ran away, left all my things there, and I was joking. I was saying, where would I put my things? Mar-a-Lago? Now, if that is you, this resonates. It's not the first time you're dealing with that. And again, it's the issues of the JFKs are multiplying. There's just something going with that eclipse, okay? We are curating a certain assassination wound. But it's a frictional. There is a friction about that. The fact that in the background Lilith is now ruled by that 22 Mars, and she's squaring Pluto, applying to square Pluto in Scorpio of all places, with Pluto in Aquarius, is not adding ease to the mix. Lilith is very open. Lilith will not try to, how should I say that? Lilith is about equity and not being a master or a slave. Okay? Scorpio is about the waters of the well. or still water. And that Lilith is now ruled by a little Mars stirs up everybody's fears of sexuality, because in those, for what I talked about, in those places, sexuality is used to assassin. So you might also be a person who's not afraid of their sensuality, or person who's sexy, okay? And because you are sexy, they try to take you down. It's because they're used to sexual energy being used to assassinate people. And sometimes they're handlers, okay? And they try to get at your sexual energy. But what happens is, for the more they try, the more they die. And this is where, people talk about self-fulfilling prophecy, and this is not about self-fulfilling prophecy in the sense of like they fear of, or they this or the that. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy because they try to get you, because they are afraid to die. They think you are out to get them, or they're afraid if they won't be your handler, somebody else will, okay? But you come to bring something different to that culture, let's say. You want to think about it a little bit like on a mundane level, a little bit like a JFK. And the minute you're a little bit like a JFK, okay, the minute you're even a little bit like a JFK, it's very scary, because the fundamentals of the system that oppresses society by keeping them in trauma is threatened. Now, some of these key figures can handle that, and the more they are on the JFK line, they can handle it better. And some of them are in between. They are on the JFK line, but they're used to the culture, where it's not the culture that they're trying to bring, and so and that can be the case. They don't understand that because they never met that. And for some of you, I think by now you already met that, okay? For you already understood that that world was designed differently. That your world, their world was designed differently. And they're so, for those that are so invested in taking you down, or that they have parts in them that are so invested in taking you down, that's a big deal, because you stir up key wounds around lethality and to kill and be killed, and around identity, and around, with Lilith in Scorpio, okay, for ritual, for that case it would be ritual abuse for most of them. So that is coming to be transformed. But there's a friction. what is their biggest mistake is to try to get you to a situation where you have to defend yourself. Because then you have to explain what happened. And to try to keep you from the tools that assist you. Because then you have to recreate those tools in your own way. Now you've mastered another art. Creating talismans or creating weapons for some people, or astrology. Or tending to true crime. Okay? Or what's going on with real estate. Now you'll see that in not all cases, okay, for some of these cases, people can grow, can transform. For some of these cases, they're running themselves into things that the more that they try to get at you, but basically what happens is you master the art of self-defense, so you master another skill and 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 another skill. Now it doesn't calm them down, okay? But they're kind of pushing you to places where you have to master those skills and practice them openly. This Mars is also ruling Sun, Chiron itself. Right now, not Venus and Neptune. Venus is conjuncting Neptune, which makes hidden relations either leak, dissolve, relations go hidden, so that it doesn't add it has a curative sense, because Neptune is also miracles. You surrender something and you can find curation in poetry even. But it's also mean that for those things that they were trying to fumble with, so you got better, something better. For some of you, that's relationships. They try to get you to break up with this person. Great. Don't be with this person. Don't be when you weren't thinking to be with this person. Don't be with this person. Don't be with this person. You weren't thinking to be with this person. Okay? But now it's like, who is this person? Oh, I kind of like them. Oh, they try to get you to be with this person. Write to this person. Be with that person. Oh, text to that person. Write this person. Like, what am I, a stalker? Now this person got their eyes on you. And it's the all-seeing one. Keep it Jupiter, Jupiter, so we're fuzzy now. And for some of you, it's about the framing war. Okay, this person is like this person is like that, this person is like this. What about you? I believe you, maybe this person is like this and like that. But what about you? Now the thing is that, let's say there was an issue between you and another person, and you both went your separate ways, or so you thought. Then you see every place you wander into is a movie. You know what social engineering is? Then the more people are busy trying to get you to think, is this person, is this person, is that person, is that person, more like surrender the thing. And Neptune finds a way, in mysterious ways, to be miraculously healing as well. So when it comes to your energy, you probably are going to discover something that stirs up everybody's wounds, including yours, around assassination. And you will have miraculous healing regarding that, um, as well as a little touch on a wound here. Okay? Each and every one of you, whether it's military, whether it's assassination prevention, whether it's true crime, you usually don't come to that. You carry that in your chart. So it has expressed itself in your life, one way or another. And now the way that you come about, it can be almost satirical. Okay, I was writing, I had my previous Facebook confiscated because I tended to true crime, and I had to recontact some parts of my family, and some of them were afflicted and associated with something that relates to that. And then I kind of had to explain. Okay, so it's kind of like, yeah, this is my new Facebook. My previous one has been confiscated because I tended to cold cases and MIA. Um, and let's just say that was and I wasn't even thinking about anything. And that person was a family member, and I was like, I wanted, like, the reason I was mentioning that, I was like, I wanted them to be proud of me for doing something with my life. Then I forgot what that thing is and how that relates to that person. So that is what is strange. Okay. The friction is frictional. Now, because of the retrogrades, the combinations of things going retrogrades and things going direct, Mars going direct after retrograde, Chiron as well, and an eclipse in the midst, and Neptune, just Neptune. Now it has Venus next to it. It's gonna have a Mercury next to it in a couple of degrees. I'm just saying, I'm just so you'll know, Mercury is in orb, is still not perfected. It's conjunction with Neptune, which is going to go over twice. Okay, so Mercury rules messages, keys, something going viral, something going missing, something going viral. And again, for you and for those people, there's Neptune brings an element of having to surrender something. So neither of you knows what is. Each of you has this thing you have to surrender, and there can be miraculous healing around that. So you also have to keep in mind, yes, you are targeted or stuff like that, but also their failure can be their win. Because what you bring to the house, sometimes what you bring is housing. Okay, you bring a key where people didn't have that key before. And again, Conan, with Deneb Al-Gadi, that I called on previously, you bring a certain key that wasn't there before. But you also blocking certain access to something that got, that's the thing. If you set a house, let's say there's a land, okay, you put a fence around it, certain people can't go anymore.